Episode 48,
Yes,
live and direct, Blue Bloods. Here we are. It's our special Bowl Mania episode. We did, it's our second annual Bowl Mania episode. Before we get to that, man, I hate to even have to like talk about this. Not that we have to talk about it, but Mike Leach, man, that the news of Mike Leach passing, that one hurts, man.
Yeah.
Like, for real. Just thinking about not just his impact on the game and the lives that he was able to impact, but he was one of those coaches that you kind of, like, if you're a college football fan, you kind of felt like you knew. You know what I mean? And I just, if you haven't been following the story, he was obviously care flighted, rushed to emergency room, I think in Jackson, Mississippi, and things started looking very grim starting Sunday night, I believe.
Right. Yeah.
And people, there's a lot of outpouring of support, prayers, things of that nature on social media you saw. And then somewhere last night, I think it was actually Bill Snyder, the longtime Kansas State coach, like put a tweet out there, like a rest in peace tweet towards Leach. And so everyone was like, what? And then there was a report. It's like, no, he's still alive. And then of course this morning the official news broke and something, I think it sounded like he battled pneumonia all year. And I guess when you're battling pneumonia, according to a buddy of mine, we were talking about this because he's kind of in a similar situation. When you battle pneumonia for an extended period, it forces your heart to overcompensate. And I think that may have been, look, I'm not a doctor. I don't have the facts specifically on Coach Leach, but it sounds like that might have been what kind of led to this unfortunate event. But anyways, I will say this on a brighter note, just to kind of reliving. Obviously, everyone remembers Mike Leach for his interviews and his personalities. And it just got me thinking, I'm so glad for him that he got that tenure at Washington State. Yeah. Because I feel like it was his tenure at Washington State was when, like, this narrative, this happy, this sort of like endearing narrative we have of Mike Leach really is when it came to life. Because Texas Tech, his era there was sort of pre-social media or early social media. So it was really before things started going viral. But I say that the end is when things started going viral, which was the whole situation with Adam James and the locked in the closet and the whatever and his... that really polarized that fan base because a lot of Tech fans, even to today, are like, Leach should never have been fired, yada, yada, yada. But I think from a national perspective, it was kind of like you never really got to see the full personality of him. You knew he had this unique offense. You knew he got more out of less. And you knew he was a good football coach. And I think if you were a Tech fan and close to that fan base, you were exposed to the personality that is Mike Leach. But I really think that era at Washington State, man, that's like when like a lot of his funny stuff and his personality really started to come out. And anyways, took that to Mississippi State, and I hope that his family and everyone will be okay, man. I just can't imagine what they're all going through right now.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man, but completely an innovator. I think, like you said, that Washington State tenure was great. I mean, right up there in wherever, the Pacific Northwest, at a school that nobody's paying attention to, and he made it very entertaining. I mean, the Gardner Minshew era. Yeah, he went from nobody to now. I don't know if he's still in the league, but in the league, and the quotes and but the genius who he was on the football field was amazing. But it was cool. Like, I even read the story. This guy tweeted the story about when he was at Tech. He went with his dad. He's a reporter now, but he went to Tech or something with his dad and to watch practices. And his dad reached out, "Hey, Mike, how's it going?" And Mike talked to him, and the guy was getting in the car, and he goes, "Mike, you want to ride back to the facility?" And he's like, "Yeah." So he goes, like, Mike Leach gets in the car and starts talking about just kind of starts on football, but transitions to like, so where do you guys live, man? We live in an apartment. An apartment complex is the best place to raise a kid. You got the pool, you got the tennis courts, you got, you have the mixture of families. Like, typical like this Leach rant for like an hour.
Yeah.
Why you should raise your family in an apartment complex. And after the end of it, he's like, all right, well, I got to go back to work. So fast forward like 2 decades. The guy is now a reporter, and he's like talking to Leach, and he goes, Leach just goes on this tangent about why I should raise my family in an apartment complex again. He's like, so he starts talking to me for like 30 minutes about like, he said, I told him I lived in like Norman or something,
right,
or wherever they were at the time. And he was like, yeah, I used to live in this apartment over there. Let me tell you why apartment complexes are the best place to raise a kid. And at the end of it, the guy goes, he goes, oh man, he goes, well, thank you. He goes, you shared the same story with my dad like 2 decades ago. And he said, Mike Leach goes, yeah, I know. And he goes, I'm thinking like, sure, no one remembers. And he goes, as Mike's walking off, he turns back around and goes, tell your dad, thanks for the ride again. And he was like, it was just like a cool, full circle moment, and then also saw this funny story about, I think he was like an assistant at Texas or OU, whatever.
OU, he was at
OU. And he, so there's a story that's going around like at the Red River shootout that one year Mike drops a fake play call sheet in the tunnel, and they pick it up. So it's been cool to hear all the Mike Leach stories where you're just like, man, great football guy, but sounds like a character off the field. And it's just a cool way, just to honor who he was. Because, he's always been kind of polarizing. There's been some guys who, like the recent transfer that just came out that said Mike Leach said I wasn't tough enough, which I'm like, sounds like Leach probably. But obviously there's been a big impact on lives. He's changed and who's affected. And, I mean, some of those great years, man, that he had at Tech. Obviously I remember because I lived in Texas at the time. But then see what he did at Wazoo and to come down to Mississippi State, man, and I think that's really cool, man, to get to go out with an Egg Bowl victory and, kind of as best as you can kind of drive off in the sunset on your way out. So, kudos to Mike Leach.
Well, and I think, first off, like any football coach, any leader, right, there's always going to be people that can't stand you type deal,
right,
or don't like you or whatever. That's just part of being in that type of position. But
right, I
was thinking about this, man, and it's something that probably wouldn't have been in discussions until after he retired, had it not been for his passing. But I kind of liken him and his influence on the game to like a Bill Walsh. If you look at Bill Walsh, and maybe I should say like the Bill Walsh of like you and I's generation.
Yeah.
Because, Bill Walsh develops this West Coast offense, takes the NFL by storm in the 80s, and then next thing you know, it's like all over, the NFL. Like its fingerprints are all over with like guys like Holmgren, Shanahan, who was the guy? Andy Reid, even I'll say McCarthy, even though he's probably a few layers down. But I'm just thinking like there's so many coaches that like went on to become successful head coaches that were somehow connected to him. And I think if you look at the college football landscape now and who some of the top coaches are and who are considered some of the top quarterback developers, like they're all Leach guys.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Now, some have taken it and developed it to their own, made it their own and put in their wrinkles and things like that. But that's how it's supposed to happen. And so I think if you look at the impact he's had on the game of football at large, you start seeing air raid principles in the NFL as well. Yep. I mean, I don't think you can stress how significant like he was to the game. And that's why I put a guy like Bill Walsh, because I think when you think of like Mount Rushmore of coaches who impacted the game, you definitely put Bill Walsh up there. And especially in the college landscape, I mean, from coaches and things of that nature, you got Leach. But anyways, so this is Bowl Mania, but there was one other break. Oh,
yeah,
bro,
the guy down in Austin, Beard.
Yes, Chris Beard. I do not see how he survives this after reading the police report. I'm not going to sit here and speculate. I'm not going to sit here and talk in depth about it because I don't like talking about things I don't have a full scope of or all the information on. And you and I, we're not reporters, so we're basically just commenting on what is already out there.
Yep.
It's bad. And, there was some stuff floating around yesterday, several different things. Like one story was, he choked out his sister's boyfriend that put his hands on her. And then there was some were saying, or it was his fiance. Well, the police report came out, and according to that, right, which I believe is still all alleged, but according to that police report, it got pretty heated and nasty between him and his fiance, and he was arrested. He's charged with felony. He is out now, I guess on bail, but he's suspended indefinitely without pay currently. I'm sure they're going to let the legal process play out, but I'm sitting here going, we shouldn't be talking about whether or not he keeps his job. It's whether or not he keeps from going to jail.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. It's the world of sports, man. Like, it can get you out of some stuff that you naturally, probably if you were anybody regular, you wouldn't get out of it. Man, I think, and this is all speculation. I don't know Chris Beard. I don't know everything that went down in that situation or whatever, but I think, man, universities, and we talked about this last week, I think, man, they have to do such a better job at this, like, character test, man. Like, you just have to do a really, really thorough investigation on the character of the person. Because it's like, I'm not saying you go this deep, but I got a friend that tried to be a Secret Service agent. Bro, you know how far back the government goes and calls people, call your 5th grade teacher, just to see. And it was funny, like when this news broke, I actually caught a TikTok by a former Michigan State women's basketball coach. And she was saying, like, she does this thing called a character test where, like, she goes to a game where she knows it's going to be a blowout. She knows where, the kid's not going to play a full 4 quarters. And she's like, I'm watching how they warm up. I'm watching where they sit on the bench. I'm watching how they interact with their teammates. I'm watching how they interact with the coach. I'm watching what they do after the game, like with their family, because we're going to be a family once you get here. And, culture matters. And I think, as much as coaches do with that, because we know they do it with athletes, if there's a kid who got into some legal issues, that's, hey, let me talk to his pastor, or let me talk to the coach, like, let me, Michigan has a guy like that on their team right now. He transferred from Bama to UT Chattanooga, and Biff Poggi, who's the new head coach at Charlotte, coached him in high school and vouched for him, like, that stuff at Bama was a little immature. He was 17 years old, But we do that as coaches. Like, as coaches, they do that. But my thing is, like, do these institutions really take it that seriously, or are they only concerned about wins and losses? And that's why I really get frustrated with the amateur part of college sport. It's like, let's just call it what it is. It's about money. Because if it's about these young men, I think you take really serious and I'm not saying anything about Chris Beard. I don't know the guy. I'm just going off the basic police report and what we heard was going on. But man, I think these institutions have to do a way better job about character with who they're putting in front of their young. I mean, obviously we know there's a big hiring a couple weeks ago that we're kind of like, good football coach, but has they, where's the character at on it,
Right.
I think that's just kind of where I'm at. Somebody that was a college athlete, that's somebody that mentor some of these guys coming up. And then obviously, as a parent myself is, I'm trusting my kid with you. So what are you teaching them? Do you just see them as an object? But are you mentoring them? Are you loving them? Are you encouraging them? Are you correcting them the right way? And are you the type of person, it's what I tell my daughter all the time, as she's navigating finding friends in her life. I'm like, you judge a person by their fruit. And this is what I'll say. Like, and once again, I don't know him. But this is like the tip of the spear. But there had to be, you don't just go from being like super calm to exploding on something. Like the writing at some point had to be on the wall, in my opinion.
Well, and to your point, I think in addition to the background checks, right, and character checks, there's also hold on, my mic's messing up on me. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. I think that there has to be that continued character education and development and accountability. Because that's what I was thinking, as you just alluded to there at the end, is, well, we may never know, but what if just in his tenure in Austin, there have been small things, right? Little things that have surfaced, like, wow, maybe he needs some help in this area, but because he's winning, because he brings in this pedigree and we're paying him millions of dollars. And a lot of times for people, you never know, like you start getting that kind of money, you start letting all these little things slide, and the next thing you know, you're untouchable. Whereas I'm sure yesterday, as it should have been, was a big wake-up call for him, like, whoa, wait a minute. I may be living in this realm that, you know, only 1% of people in this country live in, less than, but I'm still accountable, just as accountable as the next guy if I choose to behave in this way. So I don't know, man. There was also another deal that I guess he said he's got a cell phone recording that would like prove that he wasn't the aggressor or something along that lines. And when they asked him if they could see it or hear it, he said no. So it's like, I don't know what to make of that. I'll kind of be following this story.
Same.
I hope the person that was involved, and then you even think about, we never really commented on it, but a similar situation with old boy at Nebraska, Mickey Joseph. And it's like, you wonder, okay, was this just literally a snapshot? Like it was just a horrible moment that is inexcusable, but a horrible moment? Or were there things leading up to it that if someone would have just paid attention, intervened and got them the help and support that they needed, not shied away from it because, they're the head man, they win, they're making million. I mean, and I think, that's an institutional thing. Every
institution should literally hire a character coach.
Absolutely.
That has no allegiance to your university. I think about it, even in my current job, like, we talk about Corey, like we had lunch a couple weeks ago, and it wasn't I was doing anything bad. He was just like, hey, I've kind of noticed some things. Like, what do you think about that? And I was like, oh no, you're spot on. Like, you're right. I could probably tighten that up a little bit. And it wasn't like I was doing anything detrimental to my life. It was just, hey, I've noticed this. Just, what do you think? And I was like, okay, you're right. I probably need to tighten that up a little bit over here so that doesn't become a bigger thing years down the road. I think that every institution should have a character coach. Like, your whole objective is just to watch. And then to be like, hey, like, no one's above you. Like, you only answer to one person probably. Or you come in as a consultant where you don't answer to anybody.
Right.
And it's like, hey, coach, like, regardless, I'm getting paid, so you have no leverage over me, but this is what I'm noticing. Just
here's
as
what
an
I'm
observer.
Reporting.
Here's what I'm reporting, and that person should give reports to the AD and whomever else is in there to kind of keep. I think, that's another layer that these, and don't get me wrong, athletic departments are doing a great job with mental health and all these other things that are going on, but I think there's never been accountability for the coaching staff. I think they need, because that's a highly stressful job. No excuses for anybody, but man, if you're making that much money to coach college sports, it comes with pressure. And it comes with pressure. 99% of us will never know what comes with being under that type of spotlight.
Right.
So what are you doing to protect that person from themselves? Because everybody has something. So what are you putting in place to protect that person for themselves? Because it's the one thing I tell all my interns and all the young guys coming up that want influence and all. I go, man, these lights will kill you, dude. I've seen it. Even in the church world, we've seen it, man. It's these lights will get you. The fame, the influence, the stage, it can burn you and it can kill you quick. So what is in place to prevent you from yourself? Because we are human at the end of the day. So I think I think every athletic department should have some sort of something to keep these guys in place where, it just keeps them from going off the rails and obviously gives them some person to talk to, because that's the one thing we don't see is, they probably don't feel like they have anybody to talk to about these things, and they're just trying to navigate all the stuff that comes with the pressure of their world. So hopefully it all works out.
Hopefully. Well, all right, let's get to some bowl games. I figured in honor of Coach Leach, in the spirit of Coach Leach, because bowl season is just so horrible now, and it's just bad football, or it's maybe not bad, but like underdeveloped football, because it's a lot of times guys who hadn't gotten any run all year long are now having to play in the bowl game. So it's good for a developmental standpoint, but as far as it's almost in some cases like week 0 all over again for some of them, because none of the guys have been playing. So with that being said, for a lot of these games, I might just go with what mascot I think would win in a battle, similar to the viral Pac-12 mascot battle royal that Leach commented on.
Yeah.
Some of these I have a gut feel on, and some of them, man, at least until we get to the CFP, I'm just going straight. I'm going straight mascot based. But all right, so kicks off Friday morning. The Miami, Ohio Redhawks versus the UAB Blazers. I mean, the Blazers, basically a dragon that spits fire. I'm taking that over a Redhawk, so I'm going UAB.
Man, I'm going MAC action. Miami, Ohio is always one of the top MAC schools in the country. Get a lot of low-hanging fruit that Ohio State and some of these guys in the Midwest don't pull in. And man, I had a friend that went to Miami, Ohio, Dustin Cass. So I'm going to definitely I'm a Michigan guy, and I know a lot of guys actually went to Miami. You know, it's right there. So I'm going Miami, Ohio, MAC schools.
All right, and then a little bit later that same day, we got the Cure Bowl with the number 25 ranked UTSA Roadrunners versus the number 24 ranked Troy Trojans. Kind of a 50-50 toss-up type game. Who do you got?
Come on, man. You know I'm going with them Texas boys, man. UTSA, coach down there, man. He's doing a great job. I saw that they're pumped, man. Their quarterback's coming back for year like 7.
Oh, is he? Frank Harris is?
Yeah. He's coming back for year 7. He announced it on Twitter like a couple of days ago before I went to Nashville. So, yeah, I'm going down with Coach Traylon and them Texas boys, man. I love what he's doing down there. I say this. He's going to be a hot name next coaching cycle.
Well, here's what I think. I think he's waiting on either Baylor or, let me say it this way. I think he'll stay at UTSA if they really commit to like make some of the commitments.
That program.
Yeah. Like, I think there's some commitments he wants them to make, and if they'll make those, I think he would be a guy that would stay. And I could see him being like a Gary Patterson at TCU, where he sees them through their transition into bigger conferences and into bigger facilities and doing all that, because he's an East Texas guy, and like he's already got a machine. I mean, as of right now, they're 23-4, and they're in the last 2 seasons, and if they win this bowl game, that'd be back-to-back 12-win seasons. And you got your quarterback coming back. Like, that's insane. But I also, man, I would love to see him somewhere like Baylor. I just think that
he would crush.
Depending on what Aranda does, depending on if he sticks around, depending on, I mean, not that his seat is hot or anything, even though they didn't have the greatest season. But, I mean, they are coming off a Sugar Bowl win and a Big 12 championship. And but Aranda's name floats around when bigger jobs open up. So I feel like there's another job out there. I mean, UT, I don't know that he would. I don't know if they would go for him at UT. I almost feel like UT feels like that he's beneath them.
That makes I agree.
But I think he would, obviously that might even be like his dream job. But who knows? So, yeah, I'm in on UTSA. Then we got Cincy in Louisville. Like, here's another game. Like, both of them are playing without their coach. I'm sure there's opt-outs all across the board. It's this Saturday at 10 a.m. Like, who really wants to coach or play in that game?
Man, I naturally just want to pick Cincy. They play a good brand of football. They're tough. I just don't know. Louisville's been up and down all year.
Yep.
I'm going to go Cincinnati. I'm just going to go Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm going Cincy because I'll take a Bearcat over a Cardinal. Then we got Jackson State and North Carolina Central. Last year I was, Jackson State, prime, blah, 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 blah. And then they end up getting smacked around the Georgia Dome. But I'm going to go Coach Prime and Jackson State again. Totally different team.
Yes.
I know there's him leaving and him publicly, recruiting and doing what he's doing on social media at Colorado already. He's basically been – what I liked is he's basically transparently right before our eyes been, like, working 2 jobs. Like, you see him on Insta, he's getting off a plane in Boulder. Then the next one, he's in the meeting room at Jackson State. They just hired – they announced that –
TC, baby.
Yeah, that he is going to be the head coach. I think they finished what they started, man. I think they go 13-0. If I'm not mistaken, I think 13 wins would be a school record. I don't know if it would be an HBCU record, but I know for a fact, or a SWAC record, but I believe it would be a Jackson State record for wins in a season. So if they show up and play and finish it like it appears that they're going to do, I got them finishing 13-0.
I believe, man, they're going to win. I think those boys, from what we've seen, which Coach Prime has released even on social media, they love Coach Prime. They want to send them out with a win. They probably got a bad taste in their mouth from last year's Celebration Bowl. And then, hey, if I'm a kid, I'm thinking like this. All eyes are going to be on this game with Coach Prime's last game. I'm trying to ball out if I think I'm going to hit the transfer portal. So I think they're going to send them out right. I think it's going to set the momentum for TC, for Coach TC and everybody going forward. So, yeah, I like Jackson State in that one, man. Send Coach Prime on a high note. And
even if I was so scorned that Deion was leaving, if I was a player, I'm going, man, I want that 13-0 ring. Like, I want that history. I want, like, that's something that I'll have for the rest of my life. I don't want to let this temporary, disappointment keep me from winning something that could be historical.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to go Oregon State and Florida playing in the Las Vegas Bowl. I'm going Oregon State. I don't think Florida – I think their quarterback's already not playing. I don't see them really showing up. And I think Oregon State has something to play for here.
Yes.
This could be a 10-win season for them, which would be huge. Coach Jonathan Smith, I think that they are preparing and want to play this game like they want to win, whereas I think Florida's just going to kind of show up straight out of the casino, possibly. So
yeah, I like the Beavers, man, coming. Like you said, this is a big season for them. This is a potential. They win this game and how the cards play out, they could finish in the top 10 because they're ranked number 14th in the country. So I think this is huge for Coach Smith. A big momentum shifter as going into the offseason. As you're shifting that culture up in Corvallis. I like Oregon State, and Florida's just been underwhelming. Didn't Anthony Richardson declare for the draft?
Yeah.
So they got all the other stuff going on with Kit and the Sun. There's just a lot of stuff. They had a bunch of people transferring out of Florida. Just a lot going on down there in Gainesville.
A lot going on. Then we moved to that afternoon, the Jimmy Kimmel L.A. Bowl.
How does he have his own bowl?
How does he have his own bowl? Well, we got Washington State and Fresno State, Bulldog versus the Cougar. I'm going Fresno for this reason. Again, they are 1 win away from a 10-win season. I think at a program like that means something, and it's enough to get the players up. And Washington State, they've been a sneaky good team this year, so I think this might actually be a pretty good game.
Yeah, I'm going to be watching that. But I'm going Washington State, man. Cam Ward, out of Incarnate Word. He's quietly put up a very, very good season at Washington State. He's one of the hottest guys in the portal last year.
Yep.
I watched him play. Was it when they played Oregon or whatever? It was a late night Pac-12 game, and he looked really good, man. So I like Washington State to go ahead and take that win.
They should have beat Oregon, actually.
They should have.
Now we got the Lending Tree Bowl, Rice and Southern Miss. Don't care. I can't think of a game I could care less about, but I'm going to go with the Southwest Conference. Those of you that watch us on YouTube, you see in the back, I got my little Southwest Conference hat rack back there, which Rice is on. And we have Malcolm Hill on as our first guest ever, former Rice U alum. I'm going Rice.
H-Town all the way, man, going to Rice University.
All right, let's keep it moving. We've got the New Mexico Bowl, SMU versus BYU. I'm going SMU for this reason. not just because they're Southwest, but when they were in the Southwest Conference, they played BYU in the 1980 Holiday Bowl, which I'm sure all of our listeners remember back 1980. But SMU, this was like Pony Express days as well, early Pony Express days. I think they were up 20 points with 4 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. And Jim McMahon, the former Chicago Bear, Super Bowl Shuffle, Walter Payton, 85 Bears, led a 21-point comeback in the last 4 minutes for BYU in that Holiday Bowl. And that was kind of in the early days of the Holiday Bowl when it was still kind of trying to establish itself. And it's actually gone down as one of the greatest college football games in the history of college football, but it also helped put the Holiday Bowl on the map. I think that here we are, 90, 2000, 2010, 42 years later, I think SMU gets its revenge and beats the BYU Cougars, who are headed to the Big 12. But this could be a good game as well.
Yeah, I'm going to take SMU. I'm going to just take SMU. You've kind of said it all.
Frisco Bowl. We've got the hometown
green Bowl, man.
Yeah, the hometown.
Wait, shout out
Bowl.
to Frisco, man. You've been there longer than I was, but to see that it's now the home of a bowl game, the FCS National Championship.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pretty amazing.
Pretty amazing to see the growth.
Yeah. So North Texas and Boise. I'm going Boise. I can't. I don't know. North Texas, they're coachless.
Yeah. I'm with you. They lost their coach. I like Boise. Boise's always, even after the Peterson era, they've always been a pretty standard good team. I was actually thinking about that whole North Texas thing again today. Like, man, who can they hire?
Yeah. Who can they go get?
Because I thought about all the kids that even came out of Frisco that went there. Carlos Harris and Turner Smiley and all those guys that, like you said, you get a bunch of those kids up that pipeline, man. They could very well win the Conference USA title every year.
Well, and they got Jalen Guyton, who was an Allen 4 or 5 star that went to Notre Dame and then transferred back. I mean, I'm saying it's not just the ones out of high school. It's all the kids that go off to the A&Ms, the Texas, the OUs, the wherever, and then hit the portal, bring them home. It's basically what Dykes did at SMU. Okay, Myrtle Beach Bowl. We've got Marshall and UConn. UConn is hot on fire right now in basketball. I've been talking about it. I don't remember if I said anything on the pod earlier this season. I think I might have during the Maui tournament episode. Not that we just talked about that, but I think I mentioned that, but I definitely got a text message receipt that said UConn is the real deal long before they went on the run that they're on with Hurley. I think Dan Hurley. Yeah. Not Bobby, but the older brother. He's got those boys playing. So what does that have to do with this bowl game? Absolutely nothing, but I am picking UConn to win it.
I'm going to Fighting Jim Morris, man. I've actually kept tabs on them this year because Michigan played them.
Okay.
Michigan played them, and, man, they've gotten better and better by each week. They're a very young team. Their quarterback was a true freshman out of St. Aquinas last year. So big-time player from a big-time program. That looked actually pretty good, as the season's gone along. They're very young, but I feel like Jim Moore's going to have those boys ready to go, and UConn's going to get the dub.
Okay, next, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. Eastern Michigan, the Eagles versus the San Jose Spartans. Do I want a Spartan or do I want an Eagle? I'm going to go Spartan. I think a Spartan wins that mascot battle. I also prefer the West Coast. So, yeah, I'm going San Jose State in this for no other reason.
I'm picking up my boys out of Ypsilanti, Michigan, man. Eastern Michigan. I think they're in Ypsi. Yes,
yeah,
they are.
No, they are.
They're in Ypsi. They're in Ypsi. Yeah. Yep. So, and I had a guy I looked up to who used to play there, Ronald Platt. Played at Eastern Michigan back in the day from Birmingham Groves High School. So, I'm going to go ahead and go with Eastern Michigan, man. I'm going to go ahead and maybe not. I think they just fired their coach. They just fired was that Western? I don't know.
I don't think so. They're 8-4. I don't think they would have fired him after 8-4.
It might have been Western, even though they had a successful season. The AD was saying, like, with the playoff expansion, like, this is a prime type of example where they're going to take 2 group of 5 schools potentially to kind of get in, even though we know they're going to take one group of 5.
Right.
It was Western then. It had to be Western.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with Eastern Michigan, man.
Okay. What's next?
Liberty versus Toledo.
Roofclaim.com Boca Raton Bowl.
That's a nice bowl.
Liberty Toledo. I'm going Toledo just because I don't know what Liberty team's going to show up without Hugh Freeze. And honestly, I mean, they didn't even have as great of a season as it seemed like they were having when all the Hugh Freeze hype was coming down. So
yeah, I'm going Toledo.
R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl, Western Kentucky and South Alabama. I'm going to pick a Jaguar over a Hilltopper.
Nolans, man. I'm going Western Kentucky, man. Air Raid. Saw what Bailey Zapp did in that system last year.
Yeah, but that dude left.
Yeah, I know he's gone, but he's a Patriot now. But
no, I'm talking about the coach. He's
gone?
He's at Tech.
Well, never mind then.
The OC, what's his name? I can't remember the offensive coordinator's name.
You're right. I do remember.
Is it Kitty, or something like that?
You're right. You're right.
Tech. Now, they may still run a similar system.
I'm still going Western Kentucky, man.
All right. Go for it. Baylor Air Force. Man, I really want to pick Baylor just because I've got a connection there. Southwest Conference, Texas team. But, man, I'm going Air Force.
Shocking. I thought you were going to go Baylor. I'm going Air Force too, man. I'm going Air Force. I've watched them play a couple times. That option.
It's just hard to stop, man.
It's hard to stop, man. So I'm going with the Air Force, the Falcons.
Okay, so let's see. And Baylor just fired their defensive coordinator. I mean, they're kind of a little got to figure some stuff out. Independence Bowl, we got Houston and Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns and the Cougars. I'm going Houston. H-Town represent. Dana Holgerson. Do it for your mentor, baby.
Yep, H-Town all day. No way Louisiana makes this a game.
Union Home Mortgage. Is it what, Gasparilla Bowl? Like, have you ever seen the movie Basketball?
Yes, a long time ago.
It's an old movie, but I know I'm taking like a pause break here, like a praise break during church, but the opening scene of that movie is like a foreshadow or a prophecy to what we're currently living in. Because what they did was they were heightening how advertising and endorsing and money was just taking over professional sports. And so like they had like these crazy wild stadium names. Mm-hmm. But like what's funny is one of the stadium names like teasing, like taking it to the extreme would have been something like the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Stadium, right? Like if you watch just the first 5 minutes of that movie, it's literally like what was meant to be an exaggeration of the truth is literally what we're living in right now in 2022. But anyways, sorry. Wake Forest and Mizzou. Bro, I'm going Wake Forest all the way because did you hear about what Mizzou did?
Well, they do.
They didn't want to play Kansas in the bowl game.
Oh, yeah. I did hear that. Losers.
Come on, man.
Losers. Come on, man. Yeah, I'm going Wake Forest, man. The Demon Deacons.
Yeah, so Wake Forest, go Wake, got Houston. Easy Post Hawaii Bowl. Man, you know what's weird? I used to love watching this game growing up. I think because like one of my Christmas Eve traditions was always go to my grandparents' house, and this game would always be on. So I don't know. But Middle Tennessee, San Diego State. I'm going to roll with San Diego State.
The Fighting Brady hoax. Of course, man. I'm going San Diego State. I always got love for Brady. I mean,
Aztec. I like an Aztec over a Blue Raider. I think an Aztec can get grimier if it came down to it.
Yeah, man. I'm going San Diego State. Brady Hoke's done a great job after leaving Michigan, going back there. So,
New Mexico State. So the Quick Lane Bowl, New Mexico State, Bowling Green.
A good bowl.
I couldn't care less. I'm a fade whoever you pick. Who do you pick?
Bowling Green, because they have less to travel. It's in Detroit.
Okay, I'm going New Mexico State.
I'm going Bowling Green.
Is it the Camellia Bowl?
Yep, Camellia Bowl.
Camellia Bowl. Buffalo Bulls and the Georgia Southern Eagles. Where's this game played? Do we know?
Cranton. It's played in Montgomery, Alabama.
Okay, I'm gonna go Georgia Southern then.
Same, man. Knew a kid from Kai. What's his last name? I can't remember. Played at Windermere Prep. Watched him in high school. Was originally at UNC. Transferred down to Georgia Southern. I'm gonna take him down to Georgia Southern.
Okay, First Responders Bowl, Memphis and Utah State. I don't know if Blake Anderson's still at Utah State. He's a really good coach. Then Memphis just hasn't been the same since Norvell left. I'll go Utah State. Screw it.
Hunter Reynolds, former walk-on, made the 2-depth at Michigan, transferred to Utah State where he's a starter. I'm going Utah State Fighting Aggies.
Oh, okay. You know what? I'll go Memphis then, just to keep, because I was gonna pick. I picked Utah State because I thought you were gonna pick Memphis. I really don't know, to be honest. I don't know, but I just know I would pick a Tiger over an Aggie in a fight. So, all right, the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers and the East Carolina Pirates in the Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl. Even though they don't have a coach, I'm going Coastal Carolina to get that 10th win.
Going Eastern Carolina, Coastal Carolina, Grayson McCall entered the transfer portal yesterday, starting quarterback, so he's done. So I'm going Eastern Carolina.
All right, next we've got the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, Wisconsin, Oklahoma State.
Finally, some Power 5 games.
Yeah, some Power 5 games, but it may not look like it. I don't know how much we've really talked about this, but so Fickle at Wisconsin hired Phil Longo. Who is an air raid guy. Yes. How mind blowing is it going to be to watch the Wisconsin Badgers running the air raid offense?
It feels like a sin. It just feels like you shouldn't be able to do that. I don't understand it. I mean, obviously it's his team. It's what he wants to do, but it just does not I'm interested to see how the fans are going to react to it, because forever Wisconsin is my best versus your best in the trenches, line up. We're going to run the football 40, 50 times a game, try to run it off play action. And and they normally have a really good defense. Obviously, they've had some down years these last couple of years, but man, it's going to be really weird. I don't know how that's going to work, man. I mean, it's going to take them some time maybe the transfer portal speeds things up. But I still think it's going to take some time because that roster is purely built to run the football.
Yeah. We kind of got the reverse of that at Arkansas when we went from Petrino to Bielema, who brought that style to Arkansas after Petrino had been running more of a sort of wide open pro-style spread offense. And it was... But, man, Fickle's such a good coach. I believe he gets that defense right. And I don't know, man. I mean, who knows? They might start being able to get caliber athletes they hadn't been able to get.
True.
But then the balance of that is, are they really going to get that at Wisconsin? Or is part of why Wisconsin was successful doing what they did is because that was most suitable to their, recruiting strengths. But either way, whatever. I'm going Oklahoma State.
All right.
Who do you got in that one?
Braylon Allen should be playing that game for Wisconsin, so I'm going to go Wisconsin.
Okay. We got the Military Bowl presented by Peraton.
Yay.
UCF and Duke. Elko in his first year over at Duke getting 8 wins. And then you got Gus at UCF. Another coach getting ready to enter the Big 12, or another program, I should say, getting ready to enter the Big 12. I was leaning UCF. I think I'm going to go Duke.
Really?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go UCF, man. Oh, that's what I'm going to go with.
Okay. Then we got the AutoZone Liberty Bowl, the Kansas Jayhawks, and the Arkansas Razorbacks. I would not advise this, but I'm picking Arkansas because that's my squad, ride or die. But just know we do not have a defensive coordinator. Half of our team is in the transfer portal. I believe KJ Jefferson is set to play, though, because he is returning next year, and our running game is set to play. Don't know if we're going to have any linemen, but I'm going Arkansas. I think we take care of business there.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with y'all. I think Kansas kind of lost some of the steam this year. Great year. Amazing year for Kansas. I like what they got going on down there, but I'm going to stick with Arkansas this year.
They lost a lot of luster, though, as they got into the heart of their schedule.
They
Kansas
did. They did.
But it's big for them. They're in a bowl game.
Yep, that's huge.
All right. Here we go, man. We've got the San Diego County Credit Union Holiday Bowl. Say that 5 times fast. North Carolina and Oregon. Both teams lost their offensive coordinator.
Yep.
But you got Drake May on one side. Don't know if Bo Nix will even play on the other.
Did he declare yet?
Declare? Yeah, I don't know.
I heard he's coming back.
Oh, okay. So if he's playing, man, I'm going Drake May. I'm going North Carolina on that one.
I'm with you, man. I like Drake May. The dude has some gusto.
Yeah.
The dude can straight up ball. He's carried this team on his back. I think he's going to put him on his back again and go ahead and take care of business against Oregon, who just kind of caught a flat tire towards the end of the year, man.
Yeah. I also think, man, Holiday Bowl, I bet I'm going to say that's a high-scoring game.
Yeah.
Now we got the Tax Act Texas Bowl, Texas Tech and Ole Miss. I'll let you go on this one first.
Tommy, don't kill me, but I'm going to go McGuire and Texas Tech, man.
I love that pick. But I feel like Lane's got his quarterback. I'm going Ole Miss. I don't think Texas Tech is going to be able to stop Ole Miss's running game.
Yeah.
But I don't think. And their tempo. So, but who knows? For all I know, all of Ole Miss's running backs are in the transfer portal right now.
Right.
I have no idea. All right, Bad Boy Mowers, Pinstripe Bowl, Syracuse and Minnesota. That's kind of in Syracuse's backyard, but it's not like it's that far from Minnesota. Do we know if Ibrahim is playing?
I don't know. I don't think he opted out. I haven't heard anything about it.
All right, then I'm going to go with the Gophers.
I'm going Dino. Had a good bounce back year.
Yeah.
Tough team, very tough team.
Should have beat Clemson.
Should have beat Clemson, took them to the wire. I mean, they got away from what they do well, which is run the football. So yeah, I'm going with Syracuse, man.
Okay, the Cheez-It Bowl, we got OU and Florida State. Bro, I'm going Florida State. They've got so much momentum right now, too.
They do.
I don't know what the full details are, but I know they've had a big week with portal and recruiting this past week. So, Norvell is trying to turn that back, get them back to being a special program. So,
yeah. I'm going Florida State, man. Jordan Travis is coming back. He announced he's coming back. This is going to kind of, I don't know. We'll see what happens through the rest of the offseason, but this could really be that momentum pushing into the offseason, especially with portal, especially with signing day, for them to kind of make some big splashes in the ACC next year. So, and, man, what's going on at OU over there, man? I don't know. Two different directions going on with these programs. I'm going Tomahawk Chop. I'm going Florida State, man, the Seminoles.
Okay. I'm going now. We're Valero Alamo Bowl, the Longhorns and the Huskies, Texas and Washington. These two teams played a heck of a bowl game, I want to say, in like 2001. Was it one or two? And it was the Holiday Bowl. Man, it was wild. But bro, I'm going with the Huskies and Michael Penix Jr. He's coming back. Bro, he might be my Heisman pick as we get into next season. Kind of like, which I haven't really commented on yet, but I was very pleased with the Heisman.
I'm sure you were.
and so was my wife, as that the Heisman helped provide the down payment for the new vehicle I just bought my wife. So,
amen
to that. But yeah, I'm going Washington, man. I think that, and y'all know me, I'm not going to pick Texas.
Yeah. We're not back. They're not back. I don't believe in the boys from Austin. And if you go back to our season preview, Washington was my dark horse, because of Michael Penix, who is returning back next year. So they have the potential to end the year with a win, be a top 10 team going into next season, got some good momentum. I love that recruiting staff. Courtney Morgan, who came over from Michigan, who's the reason why we had a big class last year, is now over there at UW with DeBoers, what he's doing over there in that program, man. Watch out for UW and these Huskies, man. I think they're building something special up there. So I like Michael Penix to take this one over Texas.
All right. Now we got Duke's Mayo Bowl, NC State and Maryland. I don't know, because I don't know what. Go for it.
Devin Leary's opted out. He's in the transfer portal. He's not even playing for NC State. Mike Loxley, everything that got going on up in College Park, Maryland. Man, I'm taking Maryland, man. They're tough. They took Michigan to the wire. They took Ohio State to the wire. They were my dark horse. I mean, I didn't think they were going to win the Big Ten, but they were my dark horse if anybody was supposed to win it. And, man, they're tough up front. They can run the football. They just have depth issues, but Talia Tungolovoa, that's the best I've ever done.
That was pretty impressive.
I like what he's doing up there. I think Loxley has some good things going on, so I like Maryland over NC State.
Okay, I'm going to speed it up because I just looked at how many more games we have. I'm going to ride with you on that. I'm going Maryland. Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl, Pitt and UCLA. I'm going UCLA. Let's get Chip Kelly his 10th win, which I believe will be his first 10-win season at UCLA. And don't know if DTR's playing or not. Don't care. I'm going UCLA.
I'm going UCLA. DTR, Zach Charbonnet. I think they're both going to play. Before they opt out for the draft. Leave for the draft.
This Gator Bowl actually is very
interesting. This is going to be good.
Notre Dame, South Carolina. I think these are two teams like kind of on the same trajectory. Yep. I think where it was kind of like a prove it year for Shane Beamer, it was kind of like it was a season to show I got this thing moving in the right direction. Mm-hmm. Whereas for Marcus Freeman, it was his first season, but I think he had the show, especially after that 0-3 start.
It was bad.
So he's 8-1 since starting the season, 0-3. I think this is going to be a good game. I'm going with Notre Dame, though. Marcus Freeman.
Going with Beamer Ball. Boys down in South Carolina, man. I think they're going to take care of business and go into the offseason strong.
And their new offensive coordinator is they're about to get Arkansas's tight end coach to come be their new offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. He's got a lot of years in the NFL as an offensive coordinator, but they weren't that great. So anyway.
Yeah.
Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl, Ohio and Wyoming. Don't care. Ohio. Capital One Orange Bowl. I'm sure no one's going to be playing in this.
Your DJ's gone. Club Nick will be starting. Hendon has ACL. So
you would think that would favor Clemson.
Yeah, Joe Milton's actually playing for Tennessee, the former Michigan transfer. I don't know which Joe Milton's going to show up for Tennessee, but I don't trust Club Nick at Clemson. I'm going with Tennessee, man.
Tennessee, I'll go Clemson. Let's see if Club Nick can have a coming out party. All-State Sugar Bowl, Alabama and Kansas State. I'm going to just jump out there right now and say I'm going Kansas State.
Really?
Yep, the CFP hangover. Bama don't ever come to play in these games.
I'm going to go Bama, man. Bryce Young, his farewell, his swan song. I think he's going to go out with a dub.
And he's playing?
Yeah, he hasn't opted out yet.
Okay. Well, I might regret my pick, but I'm going Kansas State. Trans Perfect Music City Bowl, Iowa, Kentucky.
Who cares?
Yeah, Kentucky. There we go.
Kentucky.
All right. I'm going to skip the CFP real quick to get through the real ReliaQuest Bowl, Mississippi State and Illinois. Man, you have to think if Mississippi State plays like
they're going to try to get one for Leach.
Yeah, I'm going Bulldogs.
Yeah, if it wasn't the Mike Leach situation, I would have went Illinois, but with it being Mike Leach passing, I'm going Mississippi State.
Cotton Bowl, which I will be at this game, Tulane and USC. I'm going with my Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams, and the USC Trojans.
You should shake his hand, man, and show him the picture of your wife's new car. Thanks. I'm going to USC, man. There's no way Tulane can make this a game, in my opinion.
Unless USC just doesn't show up.
Yep.
Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. So Cheez-It's got like multiple things happening here. LSU and Purdue. I don't think Purdue keeps up with LSU. I'm going LSU.
I'm going LSU.
Rose Bowl, Penn State, and Utah. Ooh. I think this might be similar to last year. I'm going to go Utah.
I'm going Utah, man. I'm going Utah. Just tougher. I think tougher team up front. I don't even know who's playing quarterback for Penn State. I don't know if Clifford's going to play this game or not, but I'm going Utah, man.
Okay, let's get to the CFP now. So this is on New Year's Eve. We've got, the doubleheader. We got TCU, Michigan starting things off, followed by Ohio State, Georgia. I'm going to go... I'm going Michigan and Georgia is what I'm doing. But I feel like one of these games is going to be really close, and I feel like the other one's going to be very anticlimactic. Like I feel like this Michigan TCU game might be closer than it should be, and then this Ohio State Georgia game is going to be a snooze fest. What I would love though is if we could have two, but just back-to-back thrillers.
Yeah,
but I'm going to say we have a 14-0 versus 14-0 for the national championship.
I agree. I think this TCU Michigan game is going to be a lot closer than people. National pundits are kind of writing TCU off, and I'm like, Michigan normally has a little trouble with quarterbacks that can move a little bit, that can shake, that are a little bit more mobile. The big matchup is going to be Will Johnson, the true freshman All-American at corner, versus is it Quentin Johnson, the big 6'4" receiver. That is going to be the big because that's the thing that's given Michigan problems all year is big, rangy wide receivers. That's going to give them fits all year. So that's going to be the biggest. I think that's going to be the tell-all. I like Michigan to win that game. Here's where I'm going to step out, man.
Okay.
I think Ohio State's going to beat Georgia.
Jaron
Prince is going to tweet me about this. I know.
Oh, snap!
And I'm probably wrong, but I think, and I haven't watched a lot of Georgia this year, but man, if there's anybody on paper that can just straight up come and compete with the Dogs, that has the talent that can compete with them, it's Ohio State. And this is where I'm thinking you're giving them a month to get healthy. Trevion Henderson should be back. Myron Williams should be back. That'll help their running game. I think Ohio State beats Georgia. And then this is where everybody's going to hate me. If Michigan and Ohio State play in the Natty again, I don't see Michigan beating them.
Really?
I don't. I've rewatched that game 10 times.
Dude, here's my thing.
I've rewatched it 10 times. This is what I'll say. Shout out to JJ for making that throw that shifted the momentum of the game. Ohio State for about 2.5 to 3 quarters is actually in control. We just capitalize off major, major plays. Now, I think mentally we are there. I just don't know if we can beat them twice in one season, man.
Well, that's an interesting discussion. Unfortunately for me, I don't think we're even going to get to that.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't see Georgia losing in Atlanta to Ohio State. I don't think CJ Stroud has that to beat them. I really don't. Maybe a Justin Fields, Ohio State Justin Fields when they had him, that team against this team, but I'm just not seeing it, man. I think Georgia rolls, honestly. Maybe it's tight. Like, I think it's going to be similar to that Ohio State-Michigan game.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, though. Like, on paper, it's the team that should match up the best with them. They just don't have that dog in them.
They don't have the dog in them.
And you look at Kirby on one side, and you look at Ryan Day on the other side, and I'm like, Georgia's about to run them out of the Georgia Dome. And then I believe Georgia repeats, and they go back to back. However, I do not think that game against Michigan is the cakewalk that it was a year ago.
No, tougher team, better team.
There's even a part of me leaning towards Michigan.
Can't do it yet. We're still young in key areas. We're just not. As what I said at the top of the season, I went and re-listened to episode 34, which was our preview, which I called Michigan win the Big Ten, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I said this, I think we are good enough to win the Big Ten. I still think we're like 2 years removed from competing for, like, really being able to go win a national title. I think we're still, because Georgia's just elite across the, I mean, they aren't what they aren't last year, but they just got key guy like Ringo and that defense, like, they're just good in the right spots. I don't think we're quite there yet.
Okay, here's let me put it this way. Here's what the Georgia-Michigan game this year would remind me of, would be that Miami-Ohio State game in 2000,
I know what you meant.
I think, is when it was, or 2003. Whatever year it was. The Maurice Claret year.
Yep.
Where, on paper, it was like, Miami, I mean, they were just flooded with first-round talent.
Yeah.
They had speed all over the field at every position. Ohio State was coming in as kind of this bruiser team that had just kept winning, finding ways to win each week, staying true to their identity. And it was like, okay, if they could just hang around, maybe they got a shot. And even though Miami technically won that game,
yes,
not for that totally late and delayed flag, I just think that that's what this game could be like, where all the chips are going to be on Georgia, all the NFL talent right there on Georgia, all the speed. You got this Michigan team coming in that has, they've won. They've found a way to win every game in front of them. And they just can hang around, because it would kind of be a similar it's sort of a similar matchup, because people weren't really giving Ohio State a chance with that matchup until the game started playing. And it was like there were so many points where you were like, oh, okay, here we go. Miami's about to run away with it. And it's like, no, like Ohio State just they dug their heels in, they didn't break, and then in the end they got the overtime victory. They broke Miami, and they got a very generous flag. Very generous flag. But that's kind of what that matchup would remind me with. That's why I'm so tempted to pick Michigan. I'm going to pick Michigan.
I appreciate it.
I just convinced myself.
I'm not, even as a diehard fan, I'm not quite ready to do that. If we had Blake, I would feel a little bit better. And even then, I wouldn't have picked us to do that.
But if Ohio State, or if Georgia, man, goes 15-0 back-to-back.
That'd be amazing.
It was funny, too. And I'm pretty much done after this. But so I watched the Heisman ceremony. I actually haven't sat and watched an entire Heisman ceremony probably in a couple years now, a few years. I watched it this year. Of course, I was distracted by my kids like crazy. But I caught a little piece of when they asked Stetson Bennett about what it took to be here. He was almost like, and look, this is kind of your typical thing to say, but he was like, I mean, yeah, my teammates. And I was just thinking to myself, like, yeah, exactly. Not to take away from the kid. I mean, he's grinded. He's got a
cool
crazy story, tremendous story.
Awesome car lot at the end of this
car lot. I mean, I said, I go, he could run for governor in 2026. Who's going to beat him if they go back to back here?
Right.
Kirby, man, he's about to cement himself. Also, like seeing former players like as head coaches of their
alma
university.
mater.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think that Michigan Georgia could give us. It gives me Ohio State Miami feels.
That's a good analogy.
Like if you remember, like hindsight's always 2020. So it's like what? No wait. But I'm telling you, if you can take yourself back to that like season and going into that game, what all the commentary was, what all the discussions were, even what the gut feel was as a fan, it's like, yeah, Miami's gonna. And you were kind of cheering for Ohio State. Maybe not if you were a Michigan fan, but if you're like, Miami's been the dominant team in the country, they've kind of ran things for a while. Ohio State kind of, this was their first time playing for a natty in I don't know how long.
Yeah.
And you were kind of pulling for them a little bit because they were this underdog team, and that's kind of what the same sort of feel would be. And Jim Tressel, he had really become just a national I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is, but feel good story.
Yeah.
Youngstown guy took over Ohio State. Here you have Jim Harbaugh. And it'd be a great story. You got Jim Harbaugh, former Michigan player, versus Kirby, a former Georgia player.
It makes for some good football, man.
It makes for some good football. So, well.
Now you've convinced me. It's going to be Michigan versus Georgia in the final win. The only thing I'll say to that is the biggest X factor in that game is J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
Because he gives you something at quarterback that I don't know if Georgia really has. A kid that can both run and throw the football.
You know who I think the X factor is in that game? Is going to be Michigan's defense.
Yeah.
Because here's what I think would happen. I think Georgia's defense stonewalls Michigan for like the first 2 or 3 drives.
Mm-hmm.
And if Michigan's defense
can hang in there,
can just hang in there. I think that's what's going to be the critical point. Like if Georgia jumps out though, like last year, there's like you blinked and it was 21-0. I think if they can hang tight, stop the run, put it on Stetson, even though he's got some weapons, don't get it twisted. And he can move around a little bit too, but I think if that's how they could maybe get an opportune turnover here early.
I think I agree with that because even JJ said it this year. He goes, last year we were just like glad to be there. This year, he goes, all off season we were like, we're going back.
Yeah.
So shout out to that team, man. They were like, we're going back to win a national. And even the reporter said at the Ohio State game when it got to crunch time, Mikey Sarenstill was like, this is how we win national titles. We win this. We show up when it matters. And that's kind of been their onus all year. It's like, we're going back to win a natty. And then furthermore, what JJ has always said is, because people have commented and said, why do you guys feel like you kind of have a slow start sometimes? He goes, well, it was a very honest answer. He goes, after about 6 weeks, everything's kind of on tape. So everybody's throwing their kitchen sink and their best at you for your first 3-4 drives as you're trying to figure out. He goes, that's why we've been so great after halftime. He goes, after halftime, we've seen everything that you're going to do, and then we make the proper adjustment. He's like, we never been from our game plan. Our game plan is our game plan. Because that's what they asked him about Ohio State. He was like, no, our game plan was our game plan. He's like, we just knew for the first 3-4 drives, they're going to throw everything they can. And he goes, and we knew if we could get to halftime with it just being close, we have enough confidence in ourselves and our coaching staff that we're going to make the proper adjustments because we've seen everything that you can do. And, man, now you guys actually kind of got me believing, like, if they can keep it close against Georgia, I'm not saying they'll beat them, but if they keep it close, like you said, the defense can maybe hold them to 10. I think the Ohio State model is the best. If you can hold Georgia to 14 to 17 points in the first half, and Michigan's, maybe if the score's 14-10 or 17-10, I'm like, okay, I will have some hope. Like, the game has to be within one score going into halftime for me to be like, all right,
there's a chance.
I think there's a chance to do this. So, we'll see.
I mean, it's definitely would be an upset, but I'm saying, like, I can't come off of that, I can't come off of that Ohio State Miami even from the quarterback matchup, like what was it, Craig Krenzel and Ken Dorsey
versus Ken Dorsey.
You know what I mean? Like it was all the talent that Miami had, but then it was like Ohio State had a very strong run game, and they had a defense that just held the line just enough. And that's kind of Michigan's identity, you know what I mean? And I want to say, no, I'm not. I can't. That's the best comparison I can come up with.
That's a good comparison.
And then getting back to Ohio State, Georgia, I don't think C.J. Stroud beats Georgia in a game of that magnitude. I just don't see him winning a game of that magnitude. He has not shown that. Okay, look, what's his staple win be? He won the Rose Bowl against Utah.
True.
Okay, but I mean, come on. Like that's like you're at Ohio State and your biggest is that. I don't want to belittle it, but I'm saying when the season's been on the line, he has not been at his best.
True. Fair.
Here's another thing we talk about on paper. Georgia has seen Ohio State's offense. When they saw, not their offense, but they've seen, when they played Tennessee, when Tennessee's offense was at full strength with Hendon Hooker, okay, that's a comparable, not saying their scheme, not saying but I'm just saying for talent, I mean, you could compare that Tennessee offense to this Ohio State offense at full strength. And I would even argue that Hendon Hooker
gives him a better shot. He's a little bit better.
Yeah. I would say if you put Hendon Hooker on Ohio State right now, a healthy Hendon Hooker.
It's dangerous.
Now, the others, but to the other side of that, Ohio State has not seen a defense like Georgia.
No.
They hadn't seen that speed. They haven't seen that front. They have none of that. And that's where, a game like this, when you're talent for talent is very close. It's who's bringing more dogs to the fight.
Yep.
And the reality is, starting with the head coach on down, that's Georgia.
Karen, I recant my statement. Georgia, Michigan for the final.
Now, the difference is with Michigan, it's their style. It's how they play. They are a gritty team. I don't know. Let's just see how it all plays out. All right, Blue Bloods. Well, it's been a great episode, and enjoy your week. We'll be back next week. We'll be back at some point.
Oh, that's right.
I just don't know. I mean, we may not be back till after the CFP. Maybe we'll come back before the Natty. The Natty, yeah, and then after that, it'll be episode 50. So maybe we'll see y'all after the Natty.
To the victors. That would be the best episode 50 ever. All right, y'all. Until next time, then. Peace.